There aren't that many teams out there that would dare run against that Saints defense, but that is exactly what Jalen Hurts and the Eagles did Sunday. Hurts ran for 3 touchdowns in the 40-29 win over New Orleans at home. Nick Sirianni said afterwards, Jalen's a special player who forces defenses to play different. You look at their stats, but you also want to do what you do well. Hurts had 69 on the ground. Miles Sanders added 94. Jordan Howard another 63. Eagles racking up 242 yards on the ground against a team that allowed just under 73 per game. Eagles have surpassed 175 in rushing 4 straight games, including 200 plus. They've gone 3-1 during that time, and they're now 5-6 on the year. All right, let's wake up with our NFL insider, Jason La Canfora. So, Jason, the Eagles get their first home win of the season. Surprising but true. Again, that rushing attack has certainly been the key. What else has stood out to you?
Well, I think it starts right there. They're now a team that even when you know they're going to run, they still run it, and they run it on you effectively. And that is, when you have a hallmark like that you could take with you from week to week, it opens up a lot of other things for you. Jalen Hurts is a one-man wrecking crew at times, and getting Sanders back in that backfield has been everything. It allows them to be very calculated about their passing game. It's allowed Nick Sirianni, frankly, to get his feet under him as a head coach and to kind of stabilize their offense and to give them an identity that they lacked for a large part of the season. They're hanging 40 burgers on people like every other week, and they're not throwing it a ton to do so. And they've kind of already navigated some of the roughest stretches of their season and now have some momentum going. The thing that stands out for me is they don't have to get on a plane the rest of the year. I mean, their road games are all within the division. Oh, and one outside the division, but it's the Jets, the same place the Giants play. I mean, you're looking at a couple of train trips. They get Dallas at the end. I mean, Dallas, in all likelihood, won't have much to play for in that game. I think you could look at the Eagles, look at some of their opponents, and say, why can't they be one of the flawed teams that gets in there at a wild card at 9-8 or whatever? And frankly, they might be one of the hotter flawed teams because I'm buying what they're selling. They've gotten better defensively, and they don't have to put that defense on the field that much because they're just road grading people. Since week 7, they're far and away the top rushing team in the NFL by over 200 yards more than anybody else. That plays for me.
To your point, they could be 7-6 heading into that bye, and they have the Giants here this weekend on Sunday. Let's go to Cleveland. Baker Mayfield declining to speak with the media following their win over the Lions, and it's the first time in his 4 years in Cleveland that this has actually happened. Jason, what more can you tell us about what's going on here?
Well, there's a lot of frustration. He was booed pretty bad throughout that game. He didn't play that well. We know he's dealing with a multitude of injuries and kind of gutting his way through it. But that's an offense that's a little bit in disarray right now. They had the 40 points that they hung on the Bengals in the Battle of Ohio. But in their 5 games surrounding that, they failed to score more than 17 points. 10, 7, 10, 14, 17. It's not going to get it done in this day and age. And defensively, good, not great most of the time, and awful some of the time, and that's going to be a problem as well. They were lucky to survive the Lions yesterday. You have to sort of worry about their overall health. A lot of probing questions and adversity facing Kevin Stefanski for the first time. The idea that Odell Beckham was the guy holding them back was always malarkey, and that's proven to be true even more with him gone and the scope of that offense constricting. And they've got a tough stretch ahead where basically they play the Ravens back-to-back weeks with a bye in between. You look at how teams are running on them the last 2 weeks, and then you look at some of who they have to face, that doesn't bode well. They got road graded by the Patriots, and they had no answers for DeAndre Swift yesterday.
Baker Mayfield didn't speak with reporters on Sunday, but heading into this game said he is as beat up as he has been at any point in his career. Staying with the quarterback theme, Trevor Lawrence, something you wrote about on CBSSports.com and that Jags coaching staff. What more do we need to know after their loss to the Niners?
It's a state of crisis there. I mean, the quarterback isn't really developing, and there's a ton of internal strife about why that is and how to make it better. But the reality is there's going to be major changes coming to that coaching staff, whether it includes Urban Meyer or not. Certainly the offensive staff. I think you're going to see at least 2 to 3 assistant coaches let go. But there are people, including Urban, who keep dabbling with the idea of, well, let's just let the kid do what he did at Clemson because, that could work up here too, and he's having trouble reading defenses, and people are throwing zone looks at him, and he's struggling mightily to handle them and to get through that. So let's just run a ton of RPOs. But obviously that comes with major injury risk. And the reality now is we can talk about Urban Meyer's failures off the field, failures of leadership, the controversial stuff that he's been involved in, not taking a flight home. But the reality is number one goal is to develop this quarterback. And you look at other quarterbacks around the league, young quarterbacks who weren't first overall picks, and they're progressing in a way that Trevor Lawrence isn't. So this will be another tough week for them, but they come out of the gate terribly. I think he has 92 yards combined passing in the first half of each of the last 2 games. It's pretty ugly right now and not getting much better. All
right, they do have the Jags, do have the Falcons this Sunday in a game you can watch on CBS. And lastly here, Jason, you just got to go on social media, almost a soccer-type atmosphere where Bears fans chanting "Fire Nagy" in terms of Matt Nagy and that loss to the Ravens. You can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think the Bears have ever fired a head coach midseason. But what are the chances that might change this year?
Well, I don't know about them doing it in season because I don't know that they've got somebody on that staff where they feel like, they really necessarily want to see in that role. But obviously at 3-7 with Fields now dealing with injury, with them letting another game slip away, and with the Tide, the fan sentiment, they didn't want Nagy back in the first place. They wanted changes the previous off season. Things are certainly trending in a direction where it looks like there's going to be some major changes coming, and that's a team that faces a difficult stretch of games from here till really January. It's hard to look at that even in this topsy-turvy league and say that's a win, that's a win. They're dealing with some serious injury issues, and Nagy's been on the hot seat for a while. Eventually that usually catches up to you.
Jason, certainly appreciate it, man. Check out Canfora's article on the Jags write-up on CBS.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.